Hello, folks. So I'm battling some sort of contagion again. I'm feeling very tired. Yesterday's stream went wonderfully. It didn't go at all, to be honest. I have my suspicions as to what happened. And over the next few days, I'll be consulting with a couple of non-boomer friends as to what that problem might be. In the meantime, I will be hopefully able to get to all the videos I want to do. Fortunately for this video, more accurately, this one doesn't require the studio setup. I do this one in the shed. So today's Monday Media Review is Willow. Disney Plus has the new series out. I've just watched the trailer for it because I watched the original movie last night. Again, for the dozenth, probably, time in my life. I really enjoyed the original. I'm happy to see that it looks, and of course, things being what they are. I'm sure some of you have probably watched part of the original, or the new series, rather, by this point. I personally have not. All I've seen to do with it is the trailer, which, as I said, I just watched once, just now. It appears that Willow, the character Willow Ufgood, the character development has not been undone. He's not diffident. He's not, unconfident, shaky, anything like that. He seems to be exactly what you would expect for a character this far along in the hero's journey. I do believe I saw Joanne Whalley in the trailer, who played Sorsha in the original movie, the main villain's daughter. My God, she still looks very good. I was disappointed to see the redheaded terrorist from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Seems to be the actress of color in this. And obviously diversity is a big deal. The ESG trampoline is going to save, safety net is going to save quite a lot of this, I think. That said, I think it looks like everyone is trying to make Lord of the Rings. Please stop. Not everything has to be epic fantasy. There is a place for Conan. Thank God they haven't tried to make Conan again in the age of woke. I think Momoa's Conan, which was just bad, managed at least to dodge that particular bullet. But from what I understand from the little bit of noise that I've heard about it, this is another case of bait and switch where the main character of the franchise, the name character of the franchise, is being used as a member berry. And to be fair, it does look like Rule and Frangine, the brownies, little guys, from the original movie are back as well, which is great. I had no idea until I saw the credits last night that was Kevin Pollak. That was really cool. That may very well be one of my favorite Kevin Pollak roles, which is no bad reflection on Kevin Pollak at all. But it's nice to see that he's actually still alive, let alone still working. Now, I'll give you a quick review of the original Willow, which in and of itself is kind of an attempt to make Lord of the Rings. But Lucas and... I forget who the director was now. But Lucas and the director, and I do have to go and find that out. I should have remembered it was Ron Howard. He directed one of my favorite movies, Princess Bride, which, of course, brings us to Willow again. But to me, it appeared that they were trying to remake Lord of the Rings as well when I was watching it. But it seems that they were content with something that approached epic fantasy, and certainly was better than, let's call it, pulp fantasy for the lower brow stuff. Which isn't to denigrate it by any means, by calling it pulp fantasy. But even though they were, and clearly at times some of the story beats are very similar, even though at times they were clearly trying to make a Lord of the Rings-esque story, there are a number of points where you are able to look at it and go, oh no, that's great low fantasy. That's exceptionally good. Obviously there are some epic fantasy elements. You can't get away from epic fantasy elements because they're just simply fantasy elements. The fact that they find Mad Mardigan in a cage. Again, this is an 80s movie. Plot was sometimes a little less important than it should have been. Or at least consistency of character. The fact that they gave this child to literally the first Daikini they saw that would stop and talk to them, who didn't really have much of a choice, being that he was in a cage for, I'm going to guess, desertion or thievery. That fact alone, just a moment, I have something in my eye. Sorry about that. But that fact alone, that Mad Mardigan, which is a great name, and I didn't realize until I saw the credits that it's not a descriptor followed by the name Mardigan. It's Mad Mardigan, all is one word. At least that's how the captions put it. I may have the credit wrong. But it was, and I'll say this forever, it was really great to see Val Kilmer at, to use a pop culture YouTuberism that's kind of fallen out of favor, at the height of his powers. He did a great job in this. If this had been handled by someone, by a director, and Ron Howard was a fairly young director at the time, but if this movie had been handled by someone with much more of a classical directing chop, say, well, I wouldn't even speculate, but it would have been a very different movie, and Kilmer probably would not have given the performance he did. That said, there are some very strange, very odd moments. There are some great comedic beats in this movie. And the follow-through of certain things is really good. At one point, Willow drops, and I'm not going to spoil anything by saying this, at one point, Willow drops a magic acorn onto a rope bridge, hits one of the wooden slats, if that's not the correct term. Forgive me, I don't build rope bridges. And the slat itself turns to stone. A little later, he steps on it, it breaks. Perfectly consistent. Very well done. No Chekhov's slat. The villain in this, Bavmorda. Excuse me a moment. So I have to make a bit of a cleaning mess. But the villain in the piece, in the original movie, Bavmorda, extremely, extremely well done. Hateful, hateable, excellent, excellent villain. No real... One of the good things about 80s villains was you knew you could hate them because they had no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Which is probably one of the reasons that Joffrey Baratheon was one of the most hateable and like villains recently. No redeeming qualities. He did have a certain degree of sympathy given that he was the product of incest. And if I just spoiled Game of Thrones for you, fuck, are you kidding me? But even Joffrey had a certain degree of sympatheticness to him. You could see that he had certain disadvantages for whatever reason. But it's very nice to see villains who are just 100% evil. None of this gray area stuff. It's one of the things that's kind of been lost in movie making, in storytelling, in Hollywood, especially. But one of the things that stood out to me from the trailer, I have the impression that the character Willow is going to be rapidly relegated. And again, this comes from some of the noise that I've heard online as well. But it strikes me that it looks like the character Willow is going to be relegated to a secondary role. So, to every single movie maker, television show maker, storyteller out there working in Hollywood, please start making new franchises. You can take the same character. All you have to do is change the fucking name. If you change this character's name from Willow Ufgood to, I don't know, Aspen Down kinda, and give him a similar backstory, but not exactly the same backstory, because you want to take that character and make him secondary later, by all means, go ahead. Because then you'll have an actual hero's journey for the person you're putting in that place, in that primary role, for the character that you're putting in that primary role. But to trade in nostalgia, and this is 40 years on, give or take, 35, 40 years. Yeah, I think it was 87 Willow came out. That seems about right. To trade in nostalgia 40 years later, you're pushing your luck. Willow was a movie made for kids. And yeah, even the person I was watching with, my girlfriend, the scene where that troll gets wanded, for lack of a better term, by Willow initially, before he has any sort of real training with it, and turns into that monster. The effect there, and this is something else I'll get onto as well, was the effects. But the creature effect that happens there, it's kind of disgusting. And even my girlfriend was kind of shocked when I pointed out, yeah, this is a kid's movie from the 80s. Fucking love it! But in the 80s, they weren't afraid to show kids somewhat horrifying things. Whereas now, if you're making something for children, they have to be absolutely coddled, unless apparently they're getting read to by a drag queen. Yeah. That's for Sultans. I'll leave that alone. But when it comes to, okay, I'll cover the effects and then I'll put in a final point. I'm not going to make a super long video today. Oh, by the way, like, share, subscribe, comment. Please go check out my Rumble channel. I'm, I think, 30 subs towards the 100. If I can get to live stream, you know, it would be great if I could do a live stream for New Year's. Especially considering I'll probably be halfway in the bag because we're doing the drunk stream for Sultans that day. But if you would be so kind as to go and sub to Rumble, I would appreciate it. I do Rumble exclusive videos. Everything I post to YouTube ends up on my Rumble channel anyway. What else? Yeah, so that's all the internal stuff. But when it comes to the effects for Willow, this was almost all practical or very early CG or some blue screening, things like that. And it still holds up so very well. Like, I watched this movie on Disney Prime, or Disney Plus, whatever the hell it's called. Really, I did. But rewatching it now, excuse me, on a new television with all the digital bells and whistles, all the fancy 10K, 48K, whatever the hell the K is these days, or P or whatever. Boomer. You know, I don't need to know these numbers. I just need to know if the picture looks good. But watching it now and seeing how well these effects hold up, just the lightning that strikes the altar at Bavmorda's call when she's doing the ritual towards the end of the movie. Just that lightning looked absolutely fabulous. And it was all practical. or visual effect. And it looked so good. And her reaction to it, I don't know if she was necessarily there when the light, whatever the effect was, went off. But if she was not, like if it wasn't actually present in her face, her reaction to it, to lean back away from it, either it was edited extremely well, or it was directed extremely well, or acted extremely well, or all of them together. It was just a perfect moment. And it's very rare to see perfect moments in film anymore. For example, you'll see a stuntman who's supposedly blindfolded walking off a cliff or off of a drop, and they act like they know the drop is coming. It's not that hard to mime good body language. And I know the word mime is generally dirty for a lot of people, but it's got its place. It's not an art form for nothing. But Willow, the movie, if you took that now and put it, if you could take it from its place in time and drop it into a contemporary series of films. For example, if you put it next to, let me think, one of the Hobbit movies, Momoa's Conan, John Carter with Taylor Kitsch. I know I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit in terms of the time scale here. What was the last good fantasy movie? Well, I don't know. Put it up against, say, the Shannara Chronicles. Still looks really, really good. And that kind of movie making, while the technical side of it was absolutely brilliant, these were people who really gave a flying shit about doing a good job. The technical side aside, the craft of it is just amazing. The storytelling, if not for the visuals and the technical stuff being so good, the storytelling would have suffered. And it's clear that it would have, because of some of the plot holes, like giving a baby to a guy who's just been released from prison, from a death sentence. Like, things like that. Sometimes Hollywood did some stupid shit to move the plot along, and they still do. But even with that, it's still not terrible. It's weird, but it's not terrible. And I did promise to make a shorter video today, so I'm going to try to round it up now. But as far as the new trailer goes, I'm very worried that every shot of Willow is from the first episode, or the first or second episodes. And that after the pilot, he's done. He'll be gone. I'll say this, it's really good to see Warwick Davis working. Assuming that is Warwick Davis. Now I have to go check that. Oh, yeah, no, definitely. Warwick Davis definitely still alive. He's barely 6 years older than me. Damn, looks good for his age. But, I have to say that it's great to see Warwick Davis acting, and actually acting, as opposed to just being a filler character. He's clearly not phoning it in the trailer. There's a few gestures and references in the Willow series trailer that make me feel, well, it gave me cringe. There's one point where the red-haired terrorist from Falcon and Winter Soldier rolls her eyes, and clearly it's at something some man has said. Really? Absolutely terrible. But, you know, misandry is Hollywood's stock and trade these days. That and anti-whiteism. You know, it is what it is. But before too long, you know, I'm willing to speculate that within the next 5-10 years, there's going to be a very strong shift. Either Hollywood will wake up and realize we can't keep doing this because people just aren't watching our stuff, or you'll find that the market provides other alternatives. Daily Wire, for example. I still haven't seen Terror on the Prairie. Going to get to it, I promise. In any case, I'm just about to hit the 20-minute mark. Right there. I'm done. So, you know, I'm going to watch the Willow series. I will watch it. If you guys want me to give you an episode-by-episode breakdown each Monday for the next little while, I'll do that. If you'd rather I held off until I'd seen the entire series, I will do that. Now, the problem is I will not watch that series piecemeal if you guys don't want the piecemeal videos. So let me know in the comments, and I will make my determination. Personally, I would rather binge the whole thing at once. And I'm not sure how Disney is doing this. I don't know if they've dropped the whole series wholesale or if they're doing the piecemeal thing as they've done with Mandalorian and other series. I really personally dislike the weekly episodic thing. You can't bring back event TV. It's just not going to happen. Not to the scale of things like Heroes or Supernatural used to be, for example, for the geeks. Because you've pushed the geeks out, Hollywood. You've told us you don't actually value us. Because we actually care about canon and lore and character development and, you know, the principles behind good storytelling. Which clearly you don't like anymore. Yeah. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for me. I have to go and scrabble to get a thumbnail made because it is currently less than 15 minutes before this is meant to go live. So, this probably won't even be uploaded by then. So, this is going to be a late video, and I do apologize for that. In any case, I hope you're having a good day. I hope you continue to have good days. And rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.